Hi, I'm Sid Dobrin. In this video, I'll be talking about the essay assignment that asks students to analyze a text. Now, at first glance, this assignment seems fairly basic. Identify a text, read it, analyze it. In fact, this assignment seems pretty typical of the kinds of assignments we often give first-year students in order to provide lots of flexibility. But part of the problem with an assignment like this is that the flexibility we think we're providing actually hampers students' abilities to write to the assignment because students need more direction than this. Thus, I like to think of this assignment as an assignment for the teacher first and the student second. What I mean is that in order to assign this prompt, we need to fill in some of the gaps for students and to suit the needs of our individual curricula. So let's take a look at the assignment and think about where those gaps are. First, the assignment asks students to select a text. Consider setting some parameters for this selection. This is a good opportunity to use the assignment to support other specific classroom objectives. For example, if the class takes a themed approach, I would limit the text students can select to fit within that theme. Second, sometimes I limit the text selection to readings I require students to read for class discussion. Doing so helps students prepare for those discussions by providing them with the opportunity to engage the text in greater depth than a cursory reading might provide. Third, it's also convenient to simply limit the possibility of readings to those selections found in the anthology chapters of writing situations. Fourth, and of course, it can be useful to limit other course objectives like genre types, topics, sources, and so on. Once students understand the parameters for selecting text to analyze, I spend time focusing on the second part of the assignment, the analysis. Now, the assignment specifically says students should conduct content and rhetorical analysis. I decided to design this assignment this way so that students would get some practice using both of the primary analytical approaches they encounter in the chapter. Thus, it makes sense to spend some time talking with students about how they might conduct both types of analysis and, importantly, how they can then synthesize those approaches in their response to the assignment. That is, encourage students to avoid writing responses that take the form of two parts, one part providing content analysis and one part providing rhetorical analysis. I like to help students see how these two forms of analysis can inform one another and how that synthesis can lead to a more cohesive response to the assignment. Of course, the third part of this assignment asks students to write a response. Yet the assignment provides absolutely no context in which they should situate this essay. Again, I've done this intentionally to allow you to frame the situation of the assignment as best serves your pedagogical needs. So be sure to provide students with some situational framework. To that end as well, work with students to first understand the situation in which they're going to write their responses. This is a great opportunity to use the Map Your Situation feature in the chapter to guide students through the process of understanding their writing situations. Once students understand the importance of the situation in which they're responding, I suggest addressing how students will develop strong theses for their writing. Students may have a difficult time connecting the need for a thesis with the idea of analysis. That is, they're likely to provide the analysis for the sake of providing the analysis, as the assignment might actually be interpreted, rather than in support of any claim they choose to make about the text they analyze. That being the case, I'd recommend talking with students about the importance of using their situational analysis and their analysis of the text to develop a strong thesis. This is also a great opportunity to look at the Road to a Strong Thesis feature in the chapter. Once students have a handle on the situation, the analysis, and the thesis as they think through the assignment, talk with them about their writing strategies, ranging from drafting to revision to circulation. That is, I don't want to just tell my students to go write a response to the assignment. I want to help them initiate their invention processes and remind them of the key things they'll want to think about as they write and revise, just as I've done in this video with the notes to help you remember key points. Finally, it's important to talk with students about how you will assess their responses. Make sure that they understand not only the value of the response in the overall course grading scheme, but that they understand specifically what you'll be looking for when reading their responses. Let's take a moment to think about some key points from the grading rubric. Given the focus of the assignment on providing analytical information, the rubric section regarding critical thinking, reading, and writing is an area I like to focus on with students. This part of the rubric focuses on how students conduct analysis and how they articulate that analysis. It's also a good idea, in fact, to talk about the situational understanding segment of the rubric in order to emphasize the use of terms, framing questions, synthesis, degree of summary, focus, and organization in the student's analysis. So that's a little bit more about the narrative essay project. Thanks for using writing situations, and thanks for watching.